Hello friends, welcome to Gardening with Creekside. I am Jenny and today it is a brand new morning. Obviously, I've only had one cup of coffee today, so hopefully my mind will be clicking very well. But we're going to have some fun today. I have had a very productive last 3 days here in North Carolina. We've been in the mid-90s with really high humidity and full sun. It feels like summertime is here. And in the last 3 days, I have used my lovely favorite garden tool, one of my favorite garden tools, the Power Planter auger and drill. I have dug over 500 holes in the last 3 days. It has been insane. And I did Laura's dahlia beds, right? So all of her tubers, I got those in the ground. I planted the rose garden and all the annuals that went in that. And then yesterday we did the trial gardens with all the perennials and the annuals. It's a ton of plants. And as much as I love this fantastic auger, I don't want to touch it today because 3 days, 500 holes, whew, yeah, I'm a little tired, but I tell you, I never could have done that amount of planting in the time that I did without this thing. It is fantastic. It makes really, easy work of planting 500 plants in 3 days. And those were like half days, right? It wasn't like the entire day. So I will have both the drill and the auger bit linked in both the video description and then the comments. If you're interested in these, I want to flip the camera around and just really explain it to you because I've had a lot of people ask me questions about this whole system and what makes it so special than like any other kind of thing. So let me flip the camera around and show you. So what we have here is a DeWalt drill. I get it from Power Planter because, of course, you could get this from DeWalt, but they sell them as a package at Power Planter. So we just get it all together. This is a special drill. It has the E-clutch on it. I know it's kind of upside down, but right here is the E-clutch. So it will actually is a little bit more safe and it will cut off if it has resistance. So if I hit a root or a rock, it will actually stop. So I don't have to be as concerned about it tweaking my hand. It is a very powerful drill. It is wonderful. Remember, I've told you the reason that I have the lovely pink, hot pink duct tape on it is because I marked this. This is mine. This is Jenny's. We do have one for the nursery. So yeah, you only use this with permission because I'm very protective over it. But the key too in using this is having this arm attached to it because I can put a hand right here and then my other hand, of course, goes on the clutch, the trigger, and you can really get a good grip on it. Very powerful. And then basically Jerry and I use two augers. This is the 5-inch and then we have a 9-inch. This is great for using with the grande containers and gallon containers. What makes it so special is, there's some stuff on it right now, but is this tip. See right here? The regular Power Planter augers, they end right here and they're great, especially if you have like sandy soil or a little bit looser soil. But for us, with our red clay and being compacted, this tip is extra. So basically it does like a pilot hole before the big part of the auger gets in there. Makes fantastic work of all of the planting and really loosens up and aerates the soil. So since we're not going to be auging holes today, there's still, of course, projects to be done. It is a nice cloudy day. Hopefully it'll stay kind of overcast today. That is very welcomed. But we are going to go over to the pines and we are going to plant up 2 different kind of containers with caladiums because caladiums are just one of my all-time favorite plants. Massive color without a lot of fuss and muss. It's fantastic. Behind me, you will see the shade garden. Next week I am going to come and I'm going to plant up this hay rack and we're going to plant up this hay rack with caladiums as well. The shade garden is doing so well. Now, of course, I've got to get in here. I have not done anything to this bed. You can see there are some weeds in there. Check out those Sun Kings. When I tell you that Ariella Sun King, which is a spikenard, yeah, those are 2 plants and they're doing absolutely glorious. So it is doing well. The hostas are doing well. I have my little stash of plants over there. They're gonna go in the landscape here in the shade garden. But right now what we're gonna do is head on over to the nursery, gather up all of our materials, and get this project done. Taking it easy today, but yet being productive. Alrighty, so I have gathered all of my materials. I got some absolutely gorgeous shade-loving caladiums. We did, let's go through them right quick because, you know, I never remember. Okay, so we have Snowdrift, which is this fantastic, beautiful white caladium, mostly white with those green veins, and then it has a little bit of the pink up here at the top. So I'm gonna mix this with the Splash of Wine, which is another fancy caladium. Gorgeous color, look at that. I love the two of them together. I think it's gonna be really pretty. So Splash of Wine, here's your tag for that. And so I'm gonna put these two together. I got two of each. We're gonna fill up this beautiful aqua pot that is here in the middle of the pines in that bed. I decided at first I grabbed the little smaller containers and I was like, we're gonna go big or go home. So I think 4 of them will fit perfectly in this aqua pot. Be really, really pretty. And then the other caladiums that we're gonna use, I have loved this caladium ever since I first saw it come off the racks. This is, let me show you, a lemon blush. Sorry, bugs. Lemon blush. And so it is just this really fun, beautiful, look at the color on that. Is that not fantastic? Really kind of limey green edging with that hot pink center. Oh, so we're gonna plant this in mass as well. Sorry y'all, it's June in North Carolina. There are bugs everywhere. We are going to plant it in this little hay rack that is, this is actually fun little story. You know how Jenny's all about, you know, upcycling and reusing things. This is a fence panel, a deck panel. When we had our pool, we had an above ground pool and we had a deck around it, right? So this was the rail, the deck rail that was part of that whole deck system. And of course it came, you know, in a section. And so when we were demoing that whole thing, I was like, Jerry, I can use that somehow. So I stuck it between 2 pine trees, well, a pine tree and a poplar tree, and it fit perfectly. And then we just screwed it in for support so that it wouldn't tip over. And then I added a little hay rack, but it gives that flower bed really kind of some definition. And then when I put those caladiums in there, it'll give me lots of color up top, fun interest, and we're gonna keep it simple. We're just gonna jam pack it in there, big color, big pops of color, and caladiums just do so amazingly well. Even though I may melt in this humidity, caladiums actually love it. So what we're gonna do is just set up the camera and then I'm gonna show you what I'm gonna do. Okay, so what I'm gonna do first is just simply empty out my old soil because it is the same soil that was in here from last year. And you know how I preach this is that to always start with fresh soil. So thankfully this is just hooked on here, tiptoe through the hostas, and I'm gonna empty it into my wheelbarrow. And this liner, look at that. Don't you love it when a good plan comes together? Totally empty. I think what I might do to save myself from tiptoeing through the hostas is just to go ahead and fill this up with soil. So remember, we learned that great trick where we're going to take our container, right? We have our land and sea compost. I'm going to fill the bottom third of it with that land and sea, and then the top part, the rest of the 2/3, with our Proven Winners potting soil. That way that compost adds nutrition, helps retain more moisture, plants will love it. So I'm gonna do that and then we'll get to planting. You know, Why work harder than you have to? I'm just gonna plant the whole thing right here in the wheelbarrow and then just hang it back up. That'll be so much easier than doing it the other way. All right, so compost is in. Now for the potting soil. Hori knife. If you do not have a hori knife, man, you need to get one. This thing is absolutely indispensable. I love it. And I have both my hori and my Felcos. They're in little pouches, and that they just hook onto my pants or my skirt or whatever. They have a hook in the back, and then they also have it with the belt loop, like you can weave your belt through it, which is great. But Jerry actually found me like a holster that'll hold everything. My clippers, my hori, my phone, gloves, all of it. So we've ordered it. We're waiting for it to come in. I'm so excited. So once it comes in, and I'll show it to you and tell you what I think. But it looks like it's going to be fantastic, because whenever I'm in the garden, and obviously, you know, the garden and here at the nursery, so I'm in the garden a lot. And we have found from the very beginning is that when you have the right tools, that it makes the job so much more pleasurable, enjoyable, and goes so much better. So I'll let you know how that works. Now, here we go. Here we have the lemon blush. Potting soil is in. I'm not sure how many I'm going to put in here. We'll just kind of wing it and see. I'm just going to put them right there in the center. And with your caladiums, you just want to have them at soil level, just like any other kind of annual. We want them at soil level, not too deep, not too high. Once I get them all planted, then I'll come back and top dress with that Land and Sea. Again, kind of cleans it up, makes it look pretty, extra moisture, extra you know, nutrition and food and everything in there. I also have my slow release fertilizer, Proven Winners time release fertilizer. I'll do a little shake and bake on that, as my mama says, because it shakes. We'll put that in there and then hang it up and get it well watered, and this one will be done. Okay, so the first container is done. This is my kind of gardening today. Shade, cooler temperatures, easy projects. That lemon blush is in there. I put 4 of them in. That hay rack is probably, I would say, maybe like 30 inches long. You know, average size depth, probably 8 to 10 inches deep. 4 of them in there. Very quickly, they will grow together and look like one and be nice and mounded. Good height on them. The lemon blush will get to be about, looking at my tags, anywhere from like 18 inches tall. Because they are in the container, they may be a little bit more constrained as opposed to as if they were in the landscape. But you can completely put them in the landscape. So if I didn't have my hay rack, I could have added them easily to this flower bed. It's a great way to fill in some holes if you've got an area that you need a little pop of color. Excellent spot for it. Now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna just really, like, they're directly across from each other. We're gonna mosey on over here, flip, do a little pivot right here, and there is the aqua pot. It's one of the tall vases, it's one of the bigger ones. So again, we're just gonna go over there. That does not have any soil in it. So I will fill it up, get it ready, and we will get those planted with the other 2 caladiums. I am going to try the trick that I used when I was planting the fern. It's a little stuck in there. The fern on the front porch. So I'm taking out one of the caladiums, I'm gonna put it off to the side so that I can have the container, because I know that I'm gonna have 4 of these. Probably I'll have to do all 4 of them, won't I? I'm thinking so. But my idea is if I go ahead and, quote, bury the pots, then I can slide the pots out and plant the caladiums that's just straight in it. We're gonna try that. It's the first time I'm doing this, so it's like live action test trial right here. When I first thought, I thought, well, maybe I can just use, you know, one pot, but that's not gonna work. So I need all 4 of them, the pots, in there at the same time, which is not that big of a deal. It's just we gotta pop the caladiums out. There we go. And see, even though you pop them out, they've got their roots, so they're holding their shape. Just be a little delicate. These are nice and full. Okay, so I have my 4 empty pots. Basically, you're just gonna go 2 by 2. And I want the top of my pot to really be just right below the lip of the aqua pot. Okay, so I have all 4 of them in there. So what I'm gonna do then is just come in here and push really hard, because you've got to make sure that your soil is nice and compacted. Otherwise, when you pull out the pot, it'll just kind of fall apart. And then I'm just going to come in and fill in all the corners, all the empty spaces with the potting soil. If some of it gets in the pots, it's no big deal. We'll just dump it out later. But somebody had asked me last time, why not turn the pot upside down so you don't worry about getting soil in the pot? Notice the shape. It's skinnier at the bottom, wider at the top. So if I flip it upside down, then when I go to put my caladium in there, it's not the same shape. So I want to keep it the way that it's supposed to be so that I have good shape in there. I say that worked rather well. They just slid down in there, and then just to top her off, just go back in there if you need to with that extra potting soil. But really, it did it perfectly, and they're all snugged in there. Yay! So what I did is I just put the same colors across from each other, instead of saying putting all of the splash wine in the back and the snowdrift in the front. I did them opposite, so that way when it grows and it fills in, they'll be intermingled together, and it's, there you go. Okay, top dress with land and sea, water everything in, project's done for the day. Slow release fertilizer. And then with aquapots, the trick I learned from Mr. Jack Barnwell himself is, this is about empty, is take your slow release fertilizer and put it down the the fill tube. So that way in the water reservoir, you've got fertilizer in there. The time release fertilizer is released by temperature. So the hotter it is, the more it releases. That's why we don't use time release fertilizer in the winter, because it's cold and it will do nothing. It just sits there. So we're just gonna put a good little bit down the water tube, and yeah, so then when we fill it up, we've got beautiful fertilizer water in there, and they'll get fed constantly. All right, my friends, so just like that, the project for today is complete. It is nice to have a project that does not involve excessive sweating. and lots of sun and physical exertion. Some days you gotta pace yourself, people, right? So it was nice to have a little garden project done today. These caladiums right here are going to be fantastic, as are the lemon blush that are just right behind me. Of course, we'll keep you updated on that, but if you don't have caladiums in your life, you need to get some. I'm telling you, it's kind of like a gateway plant. Once you do them, there is no going back. You will love them and you will use them and find ways to use them in all sorts of applications in your garden. As always, hope you found this fun, interesting, you've learned something, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye, friends.